You talked before about how important the context was. One example of context in an industry that we all thought was in terrible jeopardy is the movie industry. That suddenly distribution was going to be frictionless, or it was going to be all pirated, or something was going to happen. I'm still going to the movie theater, and I have to admit sometimes I don't know why. Is it just because they have cup holders and I don't have cup holders at home? I'm not really sure, but there is something about that experience that's retaining my interest, and I just wonder if there's something about the incredibly well-composed classic publication that will sort of, if not retain its old dominance, at least have a pretty significant market share.
Oh, there's no question that there is still a role for classic old school publishing. But a lot of what we try to focus on is not how we deliver it, but what are we trying to accomplish? One of the things, again, this is a Clay Christensen reference, but he made the point that in your business, you always have to think about what job your products do. And I realized that, in my business, we do really three things. We teach, reference, which blurs into teaching, and entertainment. And so we started to think about our business through that filter. So on the reference front, we launched Safari Books Online in 2000 because we said, hey, if you're going to search, it's better to be able to search thousands of books than to search a single book at a time. On the other hand, we launched Make Magazine because we realized that a lot of people were just into having fun with technology. And we said, well, how do we create a product that emphasizes the fun and the experience and the joy of just playing? And we even started an online school, the O'Reilly School of Technology, where we could actually have instructors doing distance education, because we realized that we weren't just doing one thing. We were doing these three different things, and we could emphasize that in different parts of our product. And when you realize that what you're doing is teaching, the experience of actually having access to other students, to an instructor, to a lab where you can actually try the code is a way better learning experience than just reading in a book.
It is pretty wonderful to think that you're not stuck in that I have a hammer, what else is a nail?
Yeah, I think video is a really big example of that.
I'll show you just some of my sketchbook stuff.
We're really trying to come to grips with, for how many tasks, video is a better teaching mechanism or even a better reference mechanism than the printed word.
You had talked before about how being a publisher is like creating the index, which I found fascinating because that's the problem right now. We can't find the information we need, and when we do find it, we don't know what order to consume it. It's gotten pretty seriously overwhelming.
I think of a book as a user interface to a body of information. I recently read a biography of Benjamin Franklin, and you think about all the scholarship and research that goes into that. Walter Isaacson read everything. He went to all kinds of sources, and then he put it together in a usable form that gives me access to all that information. Now, the book, in some sense, is this static product of all his research. But it's also, if you think about what that expanded online book can be, there's all this possibility to drill deeper. Effectively, the footnotes become hyperlinks. There's additional background. I might want to see the places where he was. And people, of course, pursued this in ebooks for a long time. The old Voyager, sort of expanded books, were brilliant, 20 years ago. Publishers start with the idea of, if we could really create something super rich on the front end, we'll figure it all out and everybody will love us. And in fact, they're always being disappointed. They say, why are people choosing this crappy thing like the World Wide Web over, these beautiful Voyager expanded books? And I think the answer is that things that are simple have much better scaling characteristics. They take off because there's so much more experimentation, so much more variety. But what happens is that they eventually evolve towards complexity. We get there through a series of iterative experiments rather than through somebody sitting there and coming up with the master model right from the get-go.
And that certainly argues against the classic big-time publisher saying, I need to control everything.
I think it's really important that you understand that A, you can't control everything, and B, that control is a tax. There's actually a book I'm listening to right now. It's an audiobook by Stephen Covey Jr. called The Speed of Trust. And like all of the Covey books, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, this is sort of moral philosophy 101 translated into a business context, you know. But he makes a really good case that that when you trust people, you increase speed and you decrease cost. And when you don't trust people, you decrease speed and you increase cost. Yeah. And I think DRM is just such an obvious example of that. Yeah. So we don't use DRM on O'Reilly eBooks. In fact, we also provide people with, we provide PDF, EPUB, and Mobi, and as a bundle, and they can pick one or all three, whichever they like.
Yeah, that's almost a religion, though. That's a tough thing to get people to understand, that it's to their own benefit. I mean, we certainly have played both sides of that as a technology provider. We're not going to do DRM. We're not going to do DRM. Well, everybody's asking for DRM. Maybe we have to do it.
There are probably some creative and interesting ways to do DRM that I've often thought about, and this is maybe what you were referring to earlier when you asked about the index. As there's more and more information, as you have this expanded product, in some sense, it's the selection that matters.
Right.
And you could almost imagine, a world in which the book is big enough that the DRM is, look, hey, all this stuff is free, all 1,000 pages of it. What you pay for is, the 150-page version that, navigates through, because imagine that expanded version of Walter Isaacson's Benjamin Franklin, with access to all the sources and so on. Everybody thinks, oh, well, we'll sell the expanded edition. But maybe what you sell is the reduced edition.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's really the right answer, but I think experiment.